Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm Elisa, and it's like the Christmas season, so I've been kind of starting to work in this Nightmare Before Christmas deck to just kind of be, you know, of the season. But at the bottom of the deck, we got the Ten of Candles, so the Ten of Wands, like the end of a burden. And it's really interesting because today, as I'm recording this, though it probably won't get posted today just because my uploading is slow and blah blah blah, but it's a big day. It's solstice, and it's a convergence of a whole bunch of different ideas. There's a lot of different ideas out there about what today means. I mean, there's the dawning of the age of Aquarius, there's solstice, there's the second coming of Jesus, there's this big Christmas star that's supposed to happen tonight because there's like a convergence of Jupiter and Saturn that's making like a big, like the Bethlehem star, which hasn't happened in forever. And yeah, so that's really auspicious. And I think, obviously there's a lot going on in the world in general. I mean, even if we can't all agree on what today means, I think we can all agree that, like, there's some big changes afoot in our world, and I think it's really interesting how that's all playing out, I mean, we're going into the age of Aquarius, so we've gone from this earth sign, into the age of air. People are talking about how we're moving into this, from this industrial age to this information age, which really goes along with that. I mean, I think even when you just look at our larger world, I mean, we're going through a really hard time, but there's like this boom in like internet businesses. I think that's where there's a lot of prosperity right now. And, the age of materialism is kind of declining. I mean, like, there's shopping malls closing all over the place because they can't sustain themselves. I mean, while these like online businesses are flourishing, I mean, I think even just like with the election, I mean, Donald Trump, whether you agree with his politics or not, I mean, I think one thing that he represents to the larger collective consciousness, I mean, he was on TV, and his show, the theme song was like, money, 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 which is very earth sign. So we're like for sure making a transition, and it's huge. At the bottom, I have the Knight of Candles, the Knight of Wands. So I'm gonna have to come back because my mom's calling me, but I'll be back. Okay, so anyways, at the bottom of the deck, we got the Knight of Candles. So this is the Knight of Wands in the traditional deck. In this deck, the Knight of Wands, in the original deck, it's kind of like, it can be like this Don Juan, like, player person. But in this deck, this is like making like a bold, impulsive sort of move. Like, you're just going for it. And it's just sort of like a little bit of a wild card, And I think that's for sure going on in the world as we speak. We got the Seven of Needles, the Wheel of Fortune, the Nine of Potions, the Seven of Candles, and the Seven of Presents. So there's a lot of sevens. A lot of sevens. But the Seven of Needles, it's interesting because this card comes up twice, which I think is pretty auspicious. This is a card of deception, and a lot of times at the root of deception is someone who's sort of like deceiving themselves, like not being honest with themselves or with the people around them about what they want or who they are. There's I mean, this creates like futile situations because you're not in alignment with the truth, you know, and it's like sneaky behavior. It leads to people getting hurt. It leads to, you know, any number of problems. So we've got that going on. But that's followed by the Wheel of Fortune, which is a card of like things changing, like luck changing, you know. So whatever this sneaky behavior is, I mean, like one example that I could speak to in the age of materialism, which we're sort of like moving beyond now, like I think a lot of people have kind of like lost sight of what's important in the search, you know, for like dollars. You know, people talk about, you know, selling out or just like not really operating from your soul anymore, you know. And like I think that value system is kind of disintegrating a little bit because people have like less respect for that in this new world, you know. I mean, I think a lot of people are really struggling right now, and the people who are kind of thriving in this period are people who have like strong communities around them because of all the hardship that we're all facing, you know. So like that, you know, just like doing anything to get to the top, you know, I feel like that value isn't as effective as it was in the age of materialism. And so it's like, I think that there's going to be a gradual impact, but you can already see it happening on the horizon. I mean, business as usual used to work, you know, in a certain way, but like the impacts, even though people might be doing the same, you know, responses to situations, like the impacts are starting to change, you know, because the collective consciousness has changed. So that's really interesting, you know, things are changing. And then we got the Nine of Potions, which is the Nine of Cups in their traditional deck. So this is a card of like a wish being granted, you know. And then we have the Seven of Wands and the Seven of Presents. So the Seven of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles. It's interesting because, you know, above that we have, above this Seven of Wands, which I'll get to in a minute, we have the upper world, you know, and sevens represent sort of like the spiritual realm, you know. So it's just sort of like our wishes are going to come true, but we're maybe going to have to stand our ground, and we're going to have to work hard to bring that into fruition. But it looks like we have sort of the blessings of like, you know, the spiritual world and bringing this forward, you know. But it's not going to be easy. Okay, so that is the messages that I got from the Nightmare Before Christmas deck. I'm going to go to the Mystical Shaman Oracle next. So at the bottom I got the Seers. This is a card of like following your mind's eye or like your intuition, you know, which is like guidance that you're getting from the higher realms, really, you know, but being able to see things from that perspective. And that's kind of how we're going to have to move through all this change, because things are like really, the shifts that are happening now are just like so huge, you know. I mean, it's just like unprecedented, and it's wild, you know. And like I said, you know, it's like whether it's like you believe, you know, that this is the great conjunction, you know, the Mars and Jupiter, or if you believe it's the second coming of Jesus, or the age of Aquarius, or whatever, you know, like we can all agree that this is a big change, you know. I mean, that's the one thing everyone can agree about. Okay, so we got the Blade again, which is, this has come up a bunch in the last couple readings. The Curse, the Giveaway, the Upper World, and Rainmaker. So this is really, I think, auspicious. Like, in the interest of like trying not to like make this reading forever, I mean, like, this is like reality check, you know, like things are changing, you know. And it's interesting that this comes right on top of this delusional sort of situation, or this deception, you know. We have the blade, like exposing whatever this is. And then we have the curse, you know, which this speaks to like an inherited pattern or a distortion, but like not even originating from you. Like it may have been passed down in your family, but you know, it speaks to like a way of looking at things, or an understanding that's not actually right, you know. And when it's an inherited pattern, it can be hard to see that, because you kind of accept it as how things always were. But whatever this is being corrected, like light's being shown on this. And then we have the giveaway, which this just came up in a reading pretty recently, like within the last couple of days. And I was talking about the Beatles song, where it's just like, you know, the love you give is equal to the love, or the love you get is equal to the love you give, you know. So it's like, if you want to give love, get love, you got to give love, you know. And if you put bad stuff out in the universe, that's what's going to come back to you too, you know. So like, what you put out is what you know, get back, you know. And so that's like maybe part of this correction. It's just sort of like, if you don't want this curse to keep coming back to you, like you've got to change what you're putting out, you know. And maybe that's part of this enlightenment that's coming, you know. But then we have the upper world. So, you know, clearly there's some guidance coming in from the spiritual realm. And then we have the Rainmaker, which this is a card of like co-creating with the universe, and a card of manifestation, and being in alignment with this higher power. So it's really interesting, because this is very auspicious, you know, especially with this grand conjunction and the second coming of Jesus, and like all this stuff that's very auspicious, like around us, you know, speaking to this big shift that's happening, and exposing, you know, like this way of being that, like, where we've kind of like lost our way, you know. So for example, like one way that you could perceive it is just like, you know, maybe we've like lost our way, we've gotten really materialistic, we've forgotten what's important. But then, you know, it's like when we look at like Jesus, you know, like Jesus was born in a, you know, like basically homeless with like no money, and his whole life was about like loving one another, and like, you know, giving love, you know. Like that's why we're all here, you know. And like we've kind of lost that in the age of materialism. And so like maybe it's time to bring it back home. Like our values need to adapt, you know, to this new world, you know, or that's what this reading is kind of speaking to. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Urban Tarot and get some more. But at the bottom we got the Sun. So this is beautiful. I mean, it's the best card in the deck, you know. It's happiness, abundance, fulfillment, you know, family. It's wonderful, you know. But then when we get the other cards, we got the Five of Wands, which is strife in this deck. We got the Empress. We got the Chariot, the Fool, and the Star. So it's interesting, because this card of conflict and strife comes out right under this truth being exposed on this, like, basically distortion. And, like, that is causing a lot of conflict, you know. But, like, whatever that is, this curse that we've been carrying around, it's changing, you know. And maybe it's something that's going on within a family, because underneath that we have the Empress. But this can speak to the birth of a new era, you know. But like it also could maybe speak to like some big change in the consciousness of like a family structure, you know, because we've got this family curse here, and we've got this You know, whatever this is, this belief system or paradigm, it's changing. And it's like a big deal, you know. And we're taking the reins, you know, our wishes are coming true. We're taking control of the situation. And we're doing that by like taking control of what we're manifesting. Like no longer are we going to follow the status quo, like, you know, just the values of the material world, like, you know, all's fair in like in the business world if like you make money or whatever, you know, like that value isn't going to fly anymore. Like it all comes down to like karma, like what you put out is what's going to come back to you. And like I think this message keeps coming up, so like this is a really important value that we need to like carry forward into this new world, you know, because like the rules of the game are changing whether we like it or not, you know. And we're stepping into a whole new world, you know, unfettered, you know. And the spiritual realm is like is more present, you know. We're gonna have to like defend our values. But this is a card of wishes coming true. We've got 2 cards of wishes coming true. We have a card of manifesting, and we have a card of planting seeds for a better future, you know. So, I mean, this reading is really hopeful, even if it's like kind of intense, you know. Then on the next row, we've got Fortitude, the 9 of Wands, a Wounded Warrior card. We've got the 4 of Pentacles, Power. We've got, again, the 7 of Swords, Futility. We've got the 3 of Swords, Sorrow. And we've got the 8 of Swords, Interference. So it's like all these air cards as we're entering into the age of Aquarius, which is an air sign, you know. It's really interesting. But, you know, I mean, this speaks to having to, you know, we've been through it. You know, we're going to have to work through all this conflict, you know, as this truth is exposing this distortion. Like, it's not, I mean, this speaks to, like, it not being a very easy transition, like, it being difficult. But, like, the power is shifting, you know, like, business as usual, how it's been. Like, the old rules don't apply anymore. Like, the power is shifting. And, like, maybe that's happening within your family. Like, there's a power dynamic in your family that's shifting. Because this curse, like, the rules don't apply anymore. Like, things have changed. But we're taking control of whatever this futile, deceptive situation is. We're taking control of it. And we're doing that by controlling, you know, what we're putting out into the world, because that's what's going to come back to us. Like, we're not settling for business as usual. Like, we're going to be the change. Like, be the change that we want to be in the world. What we put out is what's going to come back to us, and that's how we're going to make our wishes come true, you know. That's the, like, new law of the land. And so we're taking a leap of faith, you know. It's like this world of materialism has been kind of heartbreaking, and, like, you know, this distortion has wounded a lot of people. We're taking a leap of faith into this new world, and we're standing our ground with these new values, you know, and in doing so, we're going to overcome this interference, and we're going to create the seeds of this new world. Okay, my mom's getting restless, and so I'm going to wrap this up, but, like, this is the beginning of a long-term sort of shift. So it's not all going to happen, you know, in one reading, or even in a lot of readings. I mean, this is like the beginning of a new age, you know. But I just shuffled and pulled a couple cards from Starseed Oracle to end the reading, because I gotta go. But I remember Soul Plan, the Fated Life versus the Destiny Life. You know, like, we're getting back to our roots, and, like, it's not about the material, you know, business as usual world anymore. Like, it's deeper than that. Like, we're going deep. It's like, instead of like go big or go home, in this new world order, it's like go deep or go home. That's the new. And then we got a new earth. It's happening. Keep holding the vision. It's perfect. Okay, well, I'll be back soon with some more messages, but some exciting changes and very powerful. Oh, and if you're interested, I'm still doing a few more of those readings. There's a link below, $35, and it's in this format, personal reading. Okay, see you later.